Sweet, sweet Carnival.
With me, Jim Z. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sweet, Sweet Carnival. My name is Jim Z, and I'm your host here, taking you through this beautiful suite. This time it is the Carnival Firenze. That's right, cruising Italian style. You know, the funny thing about the Firenze is, the thing that sticks out the most to me, is that we had already been on the Venezia out of New York City. And to be honest, we didn't care for that ship. And then we get on the Firenze, and I don't know if it's because we already had experience with the Venezia, but we like this ship. We like the size, we like the layout, we like everything about it. Other than some decor differences, it is the Venezia. So why didn't we like the Venezia? I guess that's what kind of brings the question more into myself. You know, I had people ask me about the Carnival ships because we've been on a lot of them. And I was telling them, you know, yeah, these are all good. And then they'd say something like, oh, what about Firenze or Venezia? And I'd be like, it's not your typical traditional Carnival. And it's not. But it was still a great cruise and we had a good time. So I don't know what it was about the Venezia. Maybe it was just not as great of an experience. I mean, we did have some pretty noisy neighbors. And we didn't have a very good experience at embarkation there in New York City. And then when we got off the ship, our flight was canceled and it took us 3 more days to get home. It was, so maybe that's why I remember it negatively, and perhaps I shouldn't, and I need to revisit it, because we had a great time on the Firenze, and I really think you would too. It's a gorgeous ship, it's a large ship, it's a Vista class ship, but not exactly a Vista class. The decor is different, and once again, it is not your typical Carnival decor. For example, it's because it's Italian style, there's a couple different names to the areas that would be the same on a Vista class ship, but let's say in the back of the Vista class ship, there's a pool on the lower deck there. On this ship, there is not, and there's not one either on the Venezia either. That's a big difference there. So there's only one pool aft. However, that pool is in the Havana area anyway on the Vista class ships. This is Terrazza area here on the Italian style ships like Firenze and Venezia. But other than that, we really had a good time. We had some great spectacular views. Leaving out of Long Beach is different than leaving out of the East Coast like we typically do. But overall, again, it was a great cruise. It was a nice ship. And let's get this episode started here and take a look at this ocean suite on the Carnival Firenze. But before we get into it, I want to invite you to like, subscribe, and reach out via email to me with any questions that you may have that are specific to this type of suite. My email address is sweetcarnival@gmail.com. All right, here we go, the deck plans. It is room 7236, near the front port side, not too far back and one deck lower from the bridge. Here's another shot of it here. Tough to see amongst all these cabins here, but there it is right there. Now, of course, with every suite, you get your suite amenities, which are above and beyond the standard stateroom amenities. Your standard suite amenities include priority check-in and boarding, early access to your stateroom, priority luggage delivery, 2 large bottles of water, 1 complimentary bag of laundry, guaranteed dining time preference for the main dining room, priority debarkation at ports when arrival is after 9:30 a.m., priority water shuttle or tender from ship to shore, not from the shore to the ship, and priority debarkation at the completion of the cruise. All right, I'd like to tell you a little bit about this cruise in itself, because on this cruise you take a tender in Cabo San Lucas, and that's typical of any cruises that go to Cabo. There are no docks, but and the tenders here, these guys, they solicit for tips. And whether you want a tip or not, that's entirely up to you, but you should not feel obligated to do so. In fact, my wife reached out to John Heald from Carnival and specifically wrote him, and you can see this right here. I put it on screen. This was the message that she wrote, and John's reply saying that no, these guys should not be tipped. So it's entirely up to you if you really want to. They do sometimes do some nice things, like they'll go a little further into the rocks on their way taking you to the pier instead of going straight from the ship. So you get a little bit of a look at it and you can take some nice pictures or video. And if that's worth tipping to you, then I guess go ahead and do so. But really, it seemed like they were really pushing for tips that they aren't supposed to be getting. I don't know the rules. I am sometimes a rule breaker, so sometimes I'll tip them, sometimes I won't. What do you do? Let me know in the comments. And now it's time to see how long it takes to walk from the nearest set of stairs or elevators to the cabin door. Now on this ship I found it interesting that the carpet color does not change down the main hallway when you get to one of these cross points by the steps or elevators. However, when the fire doors are open, it's pretty obvious. Speed it up here for you. And here we are. Altogether it doesn't take any more than about 38 seconds. Pretty quick walk. Another additional item, because the ship came out of the Asian market and was kind of converted over to be in the United States, it's interesting that on deck 6, instead of a line under 6 to show you that it's a 6 and not a 9, there is a period to the right bottom of it. Just interesting. I mean, that works. It's at the bottom, so I know it's a 6. It's when you're walking down the steps, you're going to see it there anyway, but I just found that kind of interesting. Thought I might share that with you. Are you ready to go in? Okay, here we go. Well, it's just hold up your key card to the door lock there. You don't have to slide it in or anything, which is very nice if you're carrying your card in some kind of sealed plastic container. The room is definitely different decor from your typical Carnival cruise ship. Being as these are the Italian style ships, you do still have the more modern, have to have the card in the slot there to be able to keep the lights on. But that card was already in there by our room attendant, and that's very nice. If there isn't one, well then, you can always use some old card that you don't care about. Works just the same. Couple door hooks there right behind, but our Do Not Disturb sign was not hanging there. It was hanging a little further away, which I had to get used to. Not that I couldn't have changed it. There you have your life jackets and your safe. Your safe is either a card slide or the 4-digit pin type. You have your bags there for your laundry. And of course, these doors are automatic lit when you open them up. Motion sensor. These are not really slow closed doors, not like some of the other ships. But I don't recall them making a lot of noise or rattling. However, our cruise was pretty smooth. All right, here we go. Nice look around the room, and that view outside those windows is just absolutely gorgeous. You just pull into port like we did here with these pictures in Cabo, and that was our view out the window all day long. A nice benefit of being on the port side of the ship. I also noticed when we were in Cabo the following week that the panorama was pulled in the same way, so if you're on the port side of the ship, you're going to get a wonderful look at Land's End, the rock formations there in Cabo all day long, which is just gorgeous. Continuing on, lots of mirrors in this room I noticed, but that's okay. Of course, you have your phone here, very small desk area, not really great for working there, pretty cluttered as you can see, and that's just the stuff that was already there. By the time we had our own things, it gets even more cluttered. You have some drawers there, including your hair dryer right there. We did have these 2 USB charger locations, but just there, not on the other side, so I fortunately had a long cable. And then of course this headboard is pretty nice, all padded and purple. Looking back around the room here, there's where the Do Not Disturb sign was hanging, as opposed to closer to the door. So yeah, I don't know. I left it there all week. I didn't bother moving it. Of course, you have your thermostat control in the room, just basically warmer or cooler. We really didn't play with it. Where you saw it set is where it stayed the whole cruise, even though it wasn't that warm. Now, there is something about this light here. There is this light sensor, and it's got its good points and its bad points. If you move enough, or somebody else gets up out of bed, like when my wife would get up, well, it turns on a big light and lights the room up. I mean, not totally, but it's bright enough where it can wake you up. And vice versa. I get up and the light comes on. It's a bit annoying. I did not find it necessary. However, I am finding them more common on Carnival ships lately than before. And in some cases, it's okay. For instance, if you're in a captain's suite, well, you usually have those doors closed, and when you walk out, that light's kind of appreciated. In this case, it was like the moment you stepped out of bed or moved your legs out of bed, the light comes on, and that's a little much, especially considering we'll just leave the bathroom light on and I can see my way to the bathroom, no problem in the dark. And I couldn't find a way to turn that off. I suppose you could have covered it with tape or something like that, but just not, I guess in the end, I'd prefer it wasn't there. Of course, the beds are 2 beds pushed together, actually. They can be separated if you want them to be. Very nice decor, Venetian decor in the room. The TV off to the side, it does pull out and angles over, but it kind of hangs down. It wasn't that great. Then you have your cooler, of course, here. That was working just fine. And some extra storage space, which was very nice to have. But you got to make sure that TV's not pulled out. Otherwise, you're going to go down there and wrap your head on the top of it every time you get up. This couch pulls out into another bed, which is nice. Not a whole lot to the room. Of course, you have separate light controls for the whole room right there next to that light, but not next to the other light, whereas the other light had the USB ports. So if you're just one person, I guess that's great. You reach left or right for any of that stuff, but on the left side, you control the USB ports for your phones, and on the right side, you control the main lighting from the bed. All right, let's check out this bathroom. That's that light switch again I was telling you about with that sensor. Here's the bathroom, a very nice double sink, double shelving on each side, nice big mirror in the middle. My wife and I were able to just pick right or left side, work accordingly from there. You have your towels, and then you have your removable shower head in your jacuzzi tub. And of course you have your shampoos and soaps. I always like this one temperature control setting. It's pretty nice because you don't have to mess around with all those little dials whenever you're trying to get your temperature right. Now once again, there are controls for the jacuzzi tub, which looks like a nice tub, but I didn't try it. I'm in a room on a cruise ship. I got a nice balcony. I've got a beautiful cruise ship. I'm on a cruise in some beautiful places. Why would I want to sit inside that bathroom in a tub? I guess if you have some aches and pains and everything like that, that's great. I'm glad it's there for you. But it's not something that I'm going to use. Now, the outdoor ones, of course, that's a different story. If you've ever caught any of the presidential suite coverage that I've done, those are fantastic and very nice. Power outlet there, multi-connection type for European and US. That is my wristband for the Terraza location on the ship. That is the equivalent to the Havana location on ships like the Vista-class ships or the Excel-class ships. On the Italian-class ships, the Venezia and the Firenze, it is Terraza. And here's a little form here that they tell you that's included with this ocean suite, which is very nice. Additional access to the ship that not everybody has. You've got some more drawers, a nice table there where I laid out all my things so that I had a space every morning. You have a light for your balcony, and your balcony has that single lock type there, and here is the balcony. It is a wider than normal balcony, but not very big, enough for these couple of chairs. Of course, you have a nice view off the port side of the ship, and a couple nice spots to sit. We didn't get a lot of sun there on this particular cruise for the most part, but it was still just nice to have it and be able to walk out Some people may call it a large balcony. On that ship, it would be considered a large balcony, but it's not by any means anything like a captain's suite, and definitely not like the presidential suite. But with this balcony, you can enjoy some beautiful views like these right here off the coast of the Baja Peninsula, which was just a beautiful sunrise one morning, actually a few mornings, and it was just gorgeous to look out and look at. Funny story, there were a couple of people sitting inside the marketplace just talking and having a good conversation. I was just so taken by the early morning sunrise. The sky was so red, it was incredible. I actually just stopped strangers in the middle of their conversation and just said, "Did you see that?" I was just so taken by it. I don't think they probably appreciated that by me, but I was kind of like, two of them were facing away. I'm like, how are you not looking at this? Well, as mentioned in the opening, I've been on Venezia. I thought you might enjoy a few comparison photographs between the Venezia and the Firenze. And now back on the Firenze. And then finally, I did take a lot of video touring the ship, and the ship is beautiful. And here is some video of that gorgeous dining room there in the ship. And while I was walking through, there was a crew member, an officer, playing the piano. This was very early in the morning, at like 5 in the morning. And I don't know if they normally play there, if they were just practicing, but it was beautiful, and it was echoing in this empty dining room just so beautifully. I tried to talk to some other crew people to find out who this crewman was, and I was not able to get that information, so my apologies, but you did a beautiful job. It was played beautifully. I know you were probably just practicing there, but it was awesome. Kudos to you, and if you happen to see this and you want to give me your name, I would be happy to give you credit. Okay, that's it. Carnival Firenze. What did you think? Would you book this room? You know, it is the smallest suite I've ever stayed in on Carnival, but I didn't dislike it. I liked it. It was a nice room. It doesn't have the room that you're used to in a lot of the other suites, but I felt like I didn't really need that either. So had a great time, great views out that balcony, and just a wonderful cruise altogether. That's going to do it for this episode of Sweet Sweet Carnival. Once again, I'm your host, Jim Z. I appreciate you tuning in. If you happen to be on board on one of the cruises I'm at, look for me. I'm usually at the Red Frog in the mornings with my Bloody Mary, or maybe it'll be a fruity drink, but you can always find me there. I love to strike up a conversation and learn about your cruising experiences, whether they're new or old, and just have a good time meeting friends on the ships, so don't be shy. Until then, enjoy your next cruise, have a great time, and I will see you on deck.